Hello there, welcome to Conflict News 2042 Israel Palestine war updates for you. What happened in the last 12 hours? Ground invasion of Gaza. Yesterday we heard about a small scale attack on Gaza territory, ground attack. So, what happened after that? Attacks on Israeli military bases from Gaza. Rockets fired reportedly. Attacks on two US military bases in the Middle East. Attacks on US bases in the Middle East intensifying. Thirdly, Hezbollah suffered more losses today. 3 deaths on Hezbollah aside. Palestinian Authority, Palestinian Ministry of Interior says that more than 400 have been killed in the last 24 hours in strikes by Israeli military. 6 Western countries issued a joint statement last night. And lastly, has Turkey told Hamas to leave its territory? Let's start with a new story about attacks on Israeli military bases from Gaza. On Gaza, thousands of airstrikes have been conducted by Israeli military since the start of this war on the 7th of October. Purpose of these strikes is that Hamas, PIJ, other Palestinian groups must not have any military capabilities. But rocket firing, missile firing capabilities of Palestinian groups are still intact, despite thousands of airstrikes. It means that the facilities from where rockets are fired, where rockets are stored, where missiles are stored, are safe. Deep underground facilities are still unhurt. They have not been damaged, it seems. Hamas, PIJ have been firing rockets mostly towards big cities of Israel since the 7th of October. Rockets fired towards Ashkelon, Ashdod, Haifa, towards Tel Aviv. But now Hamas fighters are trying to target Israeli military bases. And an hour ago, Hamas claimed to have targeted some Israeli military bases. So Hamas's rocket attacks are becoming more precise now. Can Hamas precisely hit Israeli military bases to the east and north of Gaza? We have not seen any video released from Hamas showing its attacks on Israeli military bases. Only statement has been issued. Hamas claims that Hatzarim Air Base was hit today by Hamas. Hatzarim Air Base of Israeli military. Secondly, it says that another base called Zalin military base was hit in rocket attacks. Third base is in Sofa settlement. Fourth one is in Nir Itzahak settlement. Fifth one in Nir Hoz settlement. In these 5 locations, Hamas claims they fired rockets and they hit Israeli military sites. Sirens have been heard in Nir Oz, in Nir Yitzhak, and some other areas. But we don't know about the actual impact of the rockets. Did they manage to reach the target or were they intercepted in there? We don't know. But this development indicates that Hamas, they're going to target now Israeli military precisely, like Hezbollah is doing on northern border. Hezbollah is not just indiscriminately firing rockets into Israeli territories. Hezbollah is firing anti-tank or other guided missiles, precisely hitting Israeli tanks, APCs, communication equipment. It seems that Hamas also fired guided rockets today, because you cannot hit these bases through firing rockets indiscriminately. Some guided munitions were fired, or maybe kamikaze drones were used. Most probably, Zavari kamikaze drones were used. Hamas has shown these kamikaze drones. Hamas used these drones when on the 7th of October, its fighters and PIJ fighters, other fighters entered Israel-controlled settlements. Back then, these drones played a key role. So it seems again today, either drones were used for these strikes on Israeli military bases, or guided missiles were fired from Gaza towards these 5 military sites in Israel, it seems. Uh, so far, confirmation is awaited from Israel's side. Meanwhile, no big ground invasion of Gaza. We just saw one small entry into Gaza yesterday, into southern Gaza. Hamas claimed it repelled the attack. It repelled the attack by targeting a tank, an APC, and some bulldozers, which tried to breach fence around Gaza and enter southern Gaza. But that was a small incident, nothing happening. So it's not that Israel has launched ground invasion of Gaza. Israel is delaying ground invasion of Gaza. Is it because of pressure? Because of pressure from Western US, because Western countries and US, they want the release of their nationals. Around 200 are still in custody, taken hostage by Hamas on the 7th of October. Some released, 2 released. Others could be released. Reportedly, talks underway. Hamas has shown some willingness to release a few hostages. Maybe that is why the ground invasion of Gaza is being delayed. The countries backing Israel, Western countries, US, they want the offensive to be delayed. Because if ground invasion of Gaza is launched, the hostages could be killed. Hamas threatened to kill the hostages a few weeks ago, but so far, no deaths at the hands of Hamas. Some have been killed. Hamas says they were killed due to strikes conducted by Israeli military. Secondly, there was attacks on 2 US military bases in the last 12 hours or so. It happened in Syria. Syria is drawn into this conflict because Israel is conducting strikes on Syria. We have seen twice strikes on Aleppo and Damascus airports. Twice, more than twice, we've seen attacks on US military bases in Syria. Both US, Russia have military bases in Syria. Iran has its presence there too. Now, Al-Makawat al-Islamiyya fil Iraq is an Iran-backed armed group which has claimed responsibility for 2 attacks on US military bases in Syria in the last 12 hours or so. First attack was on Al-Malkiya airbase, military base in northern Syria, which is in Al-Hasaka province of Syria. A drone, kamikaze drone, was fired, which hit this base. Secondly, Al-Tanf base, military base, US military base in Syria was hit by 2 drones. Al-Tanf was hit in the past few days as well. So attacks on US military bases in Iraq and Syria are intensifying by Iran-backed groups. That could be one of the reasons behind delayed invasion of Gaza, because if Gaza is invaded, we could see more attacks on US military interests in the Middle East. We could see Hezbollah join the war. Hezbollah has not stopped its rocket missile attacks from Lebanon on Israel-controlled territories since the 7th of October. We have seen several attacks on US military bases in Syria and Iraq in the last 4 to 5 days. US is accusing Iran that Iran is playing with fire. Groups are backed by Iran. Russia, watching the developments very silently, amused definitely, while airports in Syria are being destroyed by Israeli Air Force to Damascus, Aleppo put out of work. Reportedly, Russia could allow Iran to use its airbase in Syria. Russia has military presence in Syria. where it has a military base, air base under its control, which can be used by Iran reportedly. No one is going to confirm that, but obviously Iran, Russia are allies now, and though Israel tried to put Aleppo and Damascus airports out of action, but Iran can use US controlled airbase in Syria to send weapons to Iran backed groups in Syria. Thirdly, was Hezbollah has published a video, more Hezbollah deaths. 30 confirmed so far by Hezbollah itself. 3 died today in border escalation on Lebanon Israel border. Israeli Air Force has published a video, Israeli Defense Forces published a video showing drone strikes on some targets of Hezbollah on Lebanon-Israel border. Hezbollah has published a video commemorating the attack on US military barracks, Marine barracks, which happened in 1983, 40 years ago. In that attack, more than 200 US and French soldiers were killed. And that attack was carried out by mastermind of the attack was Imad Moghniye, Hezbollah operative. And today Hezbollah commemorated that attack, paid tribute to Imad Moghniye by releasing a video. Hezbollah fully prepared. It is sending strong messages to US, Israel, that in case of prolonged war, Hezbollah will be involved. Hezbollah's involved now too, but you'll see more involvement in coming days. Meanwhile, Palestinian Interior Ministry says that within the last 24 hours, less than 24 hours, more than 400 people were killed in Gaza in airstrikes conducted by Israeli Air Force. Out of 436, more than 100 are children. Humanitarian disaster engulfing Gaza. Only a few aid trucks have been allowed to enter Gaza. UN says that the aid which has entered Gaza so far is not sufficient to meet more than 2% of Gaza population. Yesterday we saw that Israel fired at Rafah border crossing, which is on Egypt-Gaza border. Some Egyptian soldiers were injured. Israel later apologized. So on Rafah border crossing, situation is very volatile. Speed of delivery of aid is very slow. While hundreds of Palestinians dying, no one is condemning Israeli airstrikes. Israel's response to Hamas's attacks is not proportionate. Anyone can see that, but no condemnation of Israeli airstrikes by Israel's allies. Israel's 6 allies issued a joint statement last night. Joe Biden from US, Rishi Sunak, British Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, Canadian Prime Minister, Meloni, Italian Prime Minister, Olaf Scholz, German Chancellor, and French President Emmanuel Macron. They issued a joint statement backing Israel, that they will defend, they will back Israel in this war. They're already backing Israel. The West is united in support of Israel. Arab world split. Other countries split as well. But West and US, they are with Israel, behind Israel since day one. No condemnation of Israeli airstrikes. Israel side is hitting targets which are military targets, Hamas operatives. But on the ground, thousands of Israelis have lost their lives. Thousands of Palestinians have lost their lives in these strikes on Gaza so far. Yes, Hamas fighters dying too. Yes, PIJ fighters dying too. Hezbollah fighters dying too. But what about civilian casualties? Thousands so far. But no one is condemning these strikes. Lastly, Turkey has it told Hamas leaders to leave the country. Ismail Haniya was in Turkey, and Turkey has been accused of supporting Hamas leadership by providing shelter to them. Turkey is denying that it has told Hamas leaders to leave the country, but Turkey says that Hamas leaders are not in Turkey anymore. Hamas is denying that it has received any message from Turkey to leave. Turkey, Qatar are Hamas backers. Qatar is playing a key role in the release of hostages. In Qatar, we saw that Western countries and Middle Eastern players all held discussions. Iranian Foreign Minister and Ismail Hani of Hamas held meetings there too. Turkey, Qatar, their allies. UAE, and they are both Turkey and Qatar, they are said to be supportive of Hamas and Palestinian groups. UAE is taking a pro-Israel position. Saudi Arabia only issuing statements, I would say. Egypt is in a difficult position. It does not want to be involved in this conflict. It shares border with Gaza. This is the overall situation from the Middle East, where the war broke out on the 7th of October. No signs of any ceasefire. Israel's ground invasion has been delayed. Maybe if it is delayed more, if it is delayed for a few more days, we could see some improvement. Maybe release of more hostages could pave the way for some ceasefire in this conflict. Thank you for watching.